interventions, noting that caregivers undertaking the immense responsibility of providing daily care and assistance to persons with severe disabilities are oftentimes the immediate family members of persons living with disabilities, and concerned that this causes a disproportionate burden of these families as persons who'd otherwise be engaged in gainful employment or other activities to provide for the family are limited by these immense responsibilities, and further concerned that this loss of income opportunities and responsibilities exacerbates the challenges faced by these families, cognizant that the government ought to take action to recognize the invaluable contribution of caregivers, and support them in caring for individuals with severe disabilities. Now, therefore, the House resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, recognizes primary caregivers of persons with severe disabilities as a distinct category requiring social protection and support, and further develops and implements a cash transfer program for these primary caregivers. This will be a resumption of debate. The debate on this motion has a balance of about 30 minutes. After consideration of a motion on the providing of safety net for caregivers of persons living with disability, the House will then move into the Committee of the Whole, where members will be considering the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill. This is National Assembly Bills number 61 of the year 2022 by Honorable Millie Odhiambo Mabona. The policy for the prevention of mental health services in all healthcare facilities is a motion lined up for debate this morning by Honorable Mishi Mboko. This motion seeks to urge the national government through the Ministry of Health to collaborate with the county governments to develop a policy integrating mental healthcare services in all healthcare facilities across the 47 counties in the country. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly is just about to commence. All indications by the Sergeant at Arms as well as the Mace are being in the chamber this morning indicates that the business will be starting any moment from now. Honorable Martha Wangari, a member of the Speaker's panel, is presiding over the business of the National Assembly this morning. Allow me to hand you over so you can follow up on the developments coming from the chamber through this broadcast brought to you by KBC in partnership with PBU. Enjoy your viewing and good morning.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we shall treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Sergeant at Arms, ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The quorum bell is currently on at the National Assembly. The quorum bell is occasioned by the mere fact that the House has lacked quorum this morning under Standing Orders number 35 that requires that at least 50 members be in the chambers at any given time when the House is sitting. As we await for a signal from the Sergeant at Arms indicating that that quorum has been achieved, allow me to keep taking you through the agenda for consideration by members this morning. Lined up for consideration is a motion on a policy for the prevention of mental health services in all healthcare facility. This is a motion by Honorable Mishi Amboko that aware that Article 43, subsection 1A of the Constitution provides that every person has the right to the highest attainable standards of health, including the right to healthcare services, and further aware that mental health is a key determinant of the overall health and socio-economic development, recognizing that the Constitution assigns to the national government the responsibilities of matters of health policy, concerned that according to the World Health Organization, WHO, mental and neurological disorders are common, and about 10% of the global population suffer from at least one mental health disorder at any given time, concerned that psychiatric units are only available in a few facilities in the country, and patients requiring psychiatric services are limited or no access to these facilities, acknowledging that access to healthcare facilities would lead to improved overall health, increased economic productivity, social equity, and improved quality of life for all. Now, therefore, the House urges the national government, through the Ministry of Health, to collaborate with the county governments in order to develop a policy integrating mental healthcare services in all healthcare facilities across the country. Members of the National Assembly are also set to consider the establishment of a science museum. This is a motion by Honorable John Kiarie. In this particular motion, the member seeks to have the House resolve that the national government, through relevant ministries, establishes and operationalizes a science museum in the country. Supporting and promoting local fertilizer manufacturing industries is a motion spearheaded by Honorable Samuel Atandi. This being a matter of national interest, occasion to the aspect of the country's food basket being at a risk following the aspect of the fake fertilizer that has just been making rounds, and investigations are being commenced into that particular matter. This motion by Honorable Samuel Atandi on supporting and promoting local fertilizer manufacturing seeks to have the House resolve that the national government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, supports and promotes local fertilizer manufacturing industries by investing in matters research and development to bolster the domestic fertilizer manufacturing sector. A similar motion lined up for debate pertains the government-to-government G2G model to acquire and supply fertilizers to farmers at subsidized cost. This is a motion by Honorable Member Joyfrey Ruku, member for Mbeere North, that aware that Kenya is an agricultural-based economy with a significant portion of its population relying on farming for their livelihoods, noting that the quality and quantity of crop yields in Kenya has been hampered to a large extent by lack of adequate and quality fertilizer, leading to decreased agricultural productivity and economic losses, further noting that the government has committed to improving agricultural productivity through various initiatives, including the provision of subsidized fertilizers, concerned that the cost, quantity and quality of fertilizers and subsequently the cost of production of food crops, cash crops including coffee, tea and miraa has increased. This is due to a number of factors, among them high cost of fertilizers due to markup by private suppliers of fertilizers, further concerned that there is a threat to food security, which is a threat to the national security, recognizing that the government-to-government model has also been noted to lower the cost of products. Further, recognizing that there are countries willing to enter into a G2G agreement, appreciating that G2G has been proven to be effective in providing services that have a direct impact to citizens' livelihoods, including the cost of living, such as the supply of fertilizers, particularly in countries with similar agricultural commodities such as Kenya. The House resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development and its agencies, adopt the government-to-government model in acquisition and supply of fertilizers by identifying potential partner countries that have surplus and quality fertilizers. The other aspect is that a comprehensive program for G2G acquisition and distribution of fertilizers through, among others, Kenya Farmers Association KFA, Kenya Tea Development Agency KTDA, Coffee Board of Kenya, the Kenya Planters Cooperative Union KPCU, Kenya Grains Growers Cooperative Union, Pyrethrum Board of Kenya for increased productivity. Members of the National Assembly, as you can see from your television, members continue to stream into the chambers this morning to raise that quorum. Lawmakers this morning also set to consider the establishment of a national policy to combat disrespectful childbirth practices in Kenya, and this is a motion by Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, motion number 40 of the year 2023. The sixth, to have the House resolve that the national government, through the Ministry of Health, develops a policy on matters prevention of obstetric violence in healthcare facilities in the country and provides for a framework for regular monitoring and reporting of cases to curb incidences of pre- and post-mortem mistreatment of women seeking healthcare services across the country. The review of the eligibility age for enrollment of older members of the society for the Inua Jamii Cash Transfer Program by Honorable Majimbo Kalasinga is a motion lined up for debate this morning, pursuant to Article 57 of the Constitution, that provides that the state shall take measures to secure the rights of older persons to live in dignity and receive reasonable care and assistance from the state. In this motion, the member seeks to have the House resolve that the national government, through the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, revise the age requirement for eligibility of the elderly members to be enrolled to the Inua Jamii Cash Transfer Program from the age of 70 years to 60 years, in line with the Constitution. The House will also consider the establishment of a priority boarding protocol for Kenya Defence Forces and the Kenya Special Forces personnel on local airlines. This is a motion by Captain Rueda Obo. According to the signals from the entrance of the chamber by the Sergeant at Arms, is that the quorum has been achieved. Allow me to hand you over so you can follow up on the developments from the chamber this morning.
The Speaker is not on her feet. We can start.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
We have Honorable Member for Nairobi. Honorable Passaris, you have a petition?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I, the undersigned, on behalf of concerned citizens of Kenya, draw the attention of the House to the following. 1, that the Article 119 of the Constitution affirms the right of every individual to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including to enact, amend, or repeal any legislation. 2, that sextortion, the abuse of power to coerce individuals into providing sexual favors, has become a pressing issue in the country, causing immense harm to victims and eroding trust in public and private institutions. That the demand for sex in exchange of essential resources, services, and opportunities is both an infringement of human rights and a significant obstacle to achieving development goals predicated on gender equality, transparent and accountable governance. That our laws do not specifically recognize or define sextortion as a form of sexual exploitation, harassment, and corruption, thus hindering effective prosecution and victim protection. That although Section 37 of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act 2018 addresses certain aspects related to sextortion, there remains a critical need to comprehensively address this issue within the broader legal context. That sextortion disproportionately affects vulnerable women and girls due to poverty, lack of education, political disenfranchisement, and various forms of disability, although men and boys are also susceptible. That the unchecked prevalence of sextortion not only inflicts immediate harm upon individuals, but also undermines efforts to empower women and ensure their full and equal participation in society, thus impeding sustainable development. That the issues in respect of which this petition is made are not pending before any court of law or other constitutional or legal bodies. Therefore, your humble petitioner prays that the National Assembly, through the Public Petitions Committee, 1, propose amendments to the Penal Code, Sexual Offences Act, and other relevant criminal laws to explicitly define sextortion as an offence, make clear provisions on penalties, support for victims, and for connected purposes. And 2, take any other
Thank you, Honorable Passaris. Before I give any comments on the petition, if you're willing to speak on this, kindly put the intervention. But before that, allow me to recognize in the Speaker's Gallery Africa Youth Leadership Forum from Starehe Constituency, Nairobi County. On your own behalf and of the House, we welcome you to observe the proceedings of the House.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me thank Honorable Passaris for this important petition. The matter she's raising It's a matter of national interest, Honorable Speaker, and it's a matter which cross-cuts almost in all spheres of life and most of the institutions also. So even as the petition committee looks at the matter, I would plead that they also look at the matter from both sides. Our boys are also suffering, and let's not look at it just like it's a female side which is suffering. Even the men are suffering. So let's also see fairness in looking at this matter. I support the petition.
Honorable Makali, are you confirming your phone you have some sextortion going on your phone? Honorable Beatrice Elachi, are you intending to speak on this? You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And first of all, just to appreciate the young people, the leaders of university who are in the public forum, in the Speakers Forum, who have always stood, Madam Speaker. These are young people who pray every morning for our country, all those leaders who are there. And that is why they have visited us, but more importantly, just to see what we are doing. So I want to tell them, as leaders of today, because you are there and leading our universities, and with all the challenges we are facing, we want to pray that God will guide you as you continue leading our students to understand the challenges we are facing and how we can deal with them. And one of them is now what our leader of Nairobi has brought in, sex extortion. And Madam Speaker, you realize one will ask, what is that? In a simple way, is the favors men ask when they are employing our girls, when they are in the tea farms in Kericho, when they are in the flower farms in Naivasha, when they are in Nairobi, waking up very early in the morning. And now I want to speak to Nairobi Water, because this is a matter that was brought by a lady, Madam Speaker, who in Kibra wakes up at around 2 a.m. to fetch water, since that is the time Nairobi Water decides water will be coming into the taps. And it's not just in Kibra. I remember, Madam Speaker, even when I used to live in Ungem, you will wake up in the wee hours to look for this water. And so for me, I want to tell them, this has now turned around. The guys, that's the caretakers who take care of these estates, what will they do, Madam Speaker? They will now start enticing and saying, oh, you see, you don't need to come and wait on this long line. I will ensure you have water, but in that return, then you have to give sex. And so we are saying, even in sports, Madam Speaker, we're being told by the Deputy Speaker, the ladies in sports are facing the worst, because those who turn around, Madam Speaker, to become their coaches, you realize you depend on the coach. He's the one training you, but he turns around and becomes both your trainer, and you must give in. If you don't, he ensures you don't even move forward in your sports. So, Madam Speaker, as we speak about this petition, we are saying today, we want to see now an amendment in the penal code, yes, but Madam Speaker, the best is to do an omnibus in all the acts that we have, the Employment Act, the Sports Act, any act, water and sanitation, where you find you have to use your way of womanhood to now get, you can imagine water in all the places, water. How it can be very sad when a woman wakes up and knows very well, I have to go and give in for me to get the only life thing that God gave in this earth. That life is water, and that's where we are, Madam Speaker. So as I finalize, Madam Speaker, it's not just a petition. It is for us to bring in the amendments, first in the penal code, but it has to go in all the acts once and for all, so that we stop this thing that I must give sex favors to a man to listen to me, to give me a nomination, to make me who I am. We say no to that, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. A maximum of 3 minutes. Member for Naivasha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this petition. Madam Speaker, it has been discussed in this House in the Kericho tea farms, where women, the vulnerable, get all sorts of challenges it did not just start. Madam Speaker, even in the offices we have worked through, for a woman to get promotion, you have to give in for sex. This is common knowledge. Even in colleges, for you to get grades, if you don't give your body the teacher or the lecturers, you remain there. If you are firm, women who are firm in the character rise very slowly, or sometimes they never rise. This is an omission that came in the sexual offences bill. I think it should have been there. It was a serious omission. We have seen it, even Our Lady ADVERTISE. We have seen them even being killed by people who come in as their coaches, and then they are friends, and then eventually they are husbands, and just because of their money, that's why they get into this problem. So this is across, much as Dr. Makali says it happens to boys, it is more challenging in women. To make it to any end, you have to give yourself to men for sex. So this has come in time, because we have to keep on amending the laws as the country evolves, as the country moves on, because these are new things that are coming up. Maybe some of these things were never discussed. You'd never say why you never got a promotion. You never say why you didn't get your grade. You never say why we are not even selected into a certain team. So, Madam Speaker, I support the petition.
Thank you. Honorable Atandi.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and to support the petition which has been presented by the Honorable Pasaris. Madam Speaker, I've met many women whose careers have been messed up because their bosses wanted to have sex with them and they said no. Also, I've met many other women who actually went through interviews successfully, but before they could be given employment letters, their bosses wanted to have sex with them. So, Madam Speaker, this issue is really very serious. That I wish this Parliament would take this matter very seriously and ensure that sexology law is enacted here so that we can protect women who are being exploited by these sex perverts. Madam Speaker, this thing happens every day and in our midst. Madam Speaker, sex is very good. And, all of us are consumers of sex. And the best sex, Madam Speaker, is consensual. But I wanted to define sexology and say that this is a case where
Honorable Donya, what is out of order? Hold on, Honorable Atandi.
Is the Honorable in order when he's saying that all of us are consumers of sex, when we know well there is the act of celibacy from the Catholic Church? Don't generalize, Honorable Atandi. You will make the nuns, the bishops from being a Catholic. As much as I'm not a nun, I chose the family way because I'm a consumer of that sex that you have said.
Honorable Doja, you will have your chance to debate. I think Honorable Atandi refer to this house. I don't see any nun, I don't see any father in this house. Generally.
Thank you.
Honorable Atandi, you have 2 minutes to conclude.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was saying that all the members in the house here are consumers of sex. Yeah, and my point, Madam Speaker, my point is that that sex should not be.
Honorable Mili, you are on record in this house having confirmed you love sex. So you cannot be out of order. Honorable Atandi, let's hear Honorable Mili. Let us hear Honorable Mili for a minute. What is out of order?
Chair, really, Honorable Atandi is out of order. Even though I'm on record having said before that I love sex, That was when I was younger. You heard Honorable Ichungwa saying yesterday that I'm the new of the house, meaning I am older. I am menopausal. Akuta kazi hapa. We are suffering separation.
Honorable Millie, you must not defy science. Even menopausal women still have sex. Go on, Honorable Atandi.
Madam Speaker, let me conclude. Let me conclude by saying that, Madam Speaker, sex should not be the reason why a professional would lose their career because they refuse to give somebody sex. So, Madam Speaker, let us, as a House, create this law so that we can protect Kenyans. I also wanted to add, Madam Speaker, that it has become normal that a lot of women try to avail themselves so that they are used for sex so that they can benefit from certain services. Again, this is not something which should be right. I want to urge women across the world that you should never even you ask somebody to pay you for sex. Madam Speaker, we even need a law against people asking for money to provide sex. Madam Speaker, I've had homes where wives are refusing to give sex because their husbands did not give them materials. Madam Speaker, sex should be given free of charge, Madam Speaker, and I think if there can be a law like that, I would really want to support. Thank you.
Honorable Mayaka, kindly restrict yourself to the petition.
Honorable Speaker, why are you gagging me in advance? Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. And first of all, I'd just like to join Honorable Elachi in welcoming our leaders from the university who are here and to acknowledge their presence and to thank the Honorable Passaris for bringing this very important petition to the House. Honorable Speaker, you know the word that they actually use out there when they're engaging in sextortion is they ask women and girls for the cookie. That is the new word they use. That give away the cookie so that you can get water and all these other things. And we really, really need to speak to our girls and speak to our women, even as we seek to bring sufficient laws to ensure that this issue is dealt with. Honorable Speaker, one of the things that women really face as a challenge is lack of water. And even as we are discussing this issue, we also need to get to the nitty-gritty of what the problem is. Because we have been given a declaration by the World Health Organization and World Bank that we ought to have water within 500 meters radius of every homestead. And that is not something that we have in this country. And so women and young girls go through this. They're not even able to report. Some of them even go to their mothers and tell them that they're experiencing this. But because of the shame and the stigma that is associated with it, they hide these particular situations. And I also want to agree with Honorable Elachi when she says that we actually need an omnibus law in all the acts that we have, the Employment Act, the Labor Act, all the vital acts, so that this issue is actually dealt with to the root of it, and including also the penal code. And Honorable Speaker, when you hear situations such like the issue that is happening in Kibra about exchanging sex for water, that is an issue that actually needs to be taken into serious consideration, because it might take us a long time to have these laws in place because of the procedures we have in Parliament, but we also just need to identify the key areas that are really being affected by this and seek to have a and also just encourage the Petitions Committee to deal with this issue as urgently as they can, because it is a matter of grave urgency. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to make my comments on this, that I support the petition on amendment of the Penal Code to provide for the offense of sextortion. Madam Speaker, you remember the incident that happened in Kericho, where people to be employed, that they had to provide sex for you to be able to be employed. We've even seen in our own institutions where we have sexually transmitted results where students have to give even sex to their tutors or to their lecturers so that they can be able to pass. I think this should be criminalized, and we should be able to make it an offense for somebody to ask for sex. And I think it is demeaning even to our women when somebody looks at you and asks for sex to be able to provide you with a certain service or a certain favor. I think this is very bad. Honorable Speaker, I even saw the other day, there are things that comes into sexual offenses. I saw the other day the Speaker of the County of Nairobi forcing a Muslim lady to greet him and hug him. And I think that is that's a very serious sexual offense, and I hope that character should be dealt with by the law to make it an example for others. So with those few remarks, I want to support it.
Dr. Nyamai.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to make comments also on this important petition. I would like to congratulate the Honorable Passaris for the boldness to bring this petition on sextortion. This is a matter, Madam Speaker, that is being talked about world over, and non-governmental organizations have put in money to try to protect women, especially young girls and people living with disabilities, but bringing it to the House is very important. Madam Speaker, sextortion is happening to powerful women and women who are not powerful. It is happening to women who are rich, most of women who are rich, and also women who are poor. It is happening face to face, and it is also happening online. So when the Committee on Petitions looks at it, they require to receive as much information as possible so that we do not focus on what is happening face to face, but we also focus on online. Madam Speaker, ignoring this matter is going to make the perpetrators bolder, especially when they know that there is lacuna in law. So it is important that it is done soon as possible. As I finish, Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the Honorable Mbai's Petitions Committee to invite subject matter experts in this one. They may decide to choose to call them, because if they just advertise, they may not get people who understand sextortion as it should be. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Finally on this, Major Bashir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to thank the Honorable Member for bringing this petition. Honorable Speaker, this issue is actually widespread, and it's happening every day and happens in every place. Sometimes even happening in places where somebody don't even think is going to happen. It's rather unfortunate. It dehumanizes the women. Remember, the women are our mothers, our wives, our daughters. And sometimes they don't even report because of the stigma that goes on with these kind of things. Honorable Speaker, 2 days ago, we witnessed in public glare a senior public official by the name the Speaker of Nairobi County, as has been mentioned earlier, involving in the same act against a member of the County Assembly of Nairobi. Now, if that can be done in the glare of the